Hello and welcome. I'm Jacqueline Kane, and I'm here with Alana Heim, who is part of the Energy Medicine Solution Workshop series. And I'm very excited to have her here and to share with all of you what she does, who she helps, and about an exciting event she has coming up. So, welcome, Alana.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here with you.
Me too. So, please share with everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my business is Prosperity Alignment. And how I came up with the name is I went on a soul branding journey. So this is my soul essence coming through. And to me, it just kind of captures everything. Prosperity is everything. Energy is everything. And when we are aligned with who we really are, so we're aligning with our energies, our human design, our gene keys, some of these tools I use, there's just this natural flow of prosperity. It's like you're in this new Grand Canyon of where the river flows, and it's just more effortless, it's easy. And what I've seen, having been in the financial industry as a certified public accountant, most of the time we're living in a different stream, right? The stream that mom and dad said, here you go, I'm just going to plop you right here and you're going to figure it out and it's going to be great. And
Yeah.
sometimes we swim with it. We make ourselves be able to handle what internally we struggle with. And
Mhm.
at some point, right, we kind of get to the dam. We get to this point of like we either can't go anywhere or we have to go over, and we don't know what to do and we don't know where we are. And so
Yeah.
that's where I love bringing in the alignment piece for you to truly realize, you know what, you're not in the right river. It was never your river to start with, and let's move you to where you really want to be. Like what's calling you forward.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's so true because there really is, when you're living your soul aligned life, there is this flow and this ease and this abundance that just shows up, and you don't have to do a thing. The thing is that people are so programmed when you say that to them,
Yeah.
because I've said things to people and they're like, it's not easy. It's not easy to get out of pain. It's not easy to create wealth. We're so conditioned with that programming, right?
Oh my gosh. And I was just saying this in another interview where let's talk in financial terms, right? Where it's always about the cost, right? Ooh, well, that's too expensive and I can't afford it. But the cost of making a change in your life used to be too great. You were like,
Mhm.
nope, I'm not leaving this river. This is where I am. But now there's something in each of us that is saying, oh my gosh, the cost of staying here in this situation is so
Yes.
painful that I
Yes.
actually am seeing that I need to make the change.
Yeah. And there's ways to do it. I mean, the cost. So working with you and I, it can be expensive and it can be cheap, right? We have many ranges of how people can work with us. We purposely do that. But some people just look at that number without looking at the value and
Mm.
realizing what happens if a year from now you're in the same space. You're in pain, you're still not moving forward and creating wealth. And so what's really the cost of the results that we get, that our clients get to have, really? I think that's
Right.
priceless. It's worth
Absolutely.
$1 million.
And the mind-blowing part of really what I do, and having been in the financial industry for 20 years, and I've been unlearning it basically,
Yes.
right, is that we used to think we had to look at that price to make the
Yes.
decision. And
Right.
what I love and what I help clients with is realize the decision is here, and it actually doesn't matter about the price, which is like mind blowing. It's you have to totally flip everything. But the reality is, if I am speaking with you and there is this part of you that's like, oh my gosh, I have to work with you,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even care about the
Right.
money. And when you make that wholesome heart based decision and you're trusting your inner parts and the things that I share through human design, and you're making this decision, and God, source, will absolutely make sure that there are plenty of fish now in your river to feed you and nurture
Yep.
you and support you and give you the money to be able to pay for the service. And that's really hard for so
Yeah.
many people to flip and see. But I urge you, and really I encourage you to even think right now, go back through your life. Where did you just know that you had to do something? You had to be somewhere. You had to go see a family member or make this big trip and or do something, and you just in that moment you didn't know how you were going to do it,
Mhm.
but you did it anyway and it all
Mhm.
worked out. Because that's the memory, right? That's the energy I want you to tap into, because that's part of who you are and you are supported.
Yes. People don't really realize how supportive they are. Once, all we have to do is make the decision and then everything lines up. I can't tell you how many clients are like, "Oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to pay for that." But once they make the decision, it shows up. Somebody pays them the money that was owed, or it's here, right?
Yeah.
And
And
you've
and
seen
I
that too, right?
I see it a lot. I just had it recently where I had a lady who was like, and I could just tell that that was the part where she's like, okay, I need a session with you. And then she's like, had already talked about money and how, you know, she's already been told by all these coaches to put it on the credit card. She doesn't want to do that. And I'm like, great, then don't, right? We'll schedule it when you're ready, because that's where I come from. I
Yeah.
know it's a dance. So I said, okay, let's
Yeah.
go out a couple weeks. Let's go into June. And so we schedule something in June. And then she literally emails me right after and was like, I went ahead and I sold some stuff and I have money coming in, and can we move it to next week? And I was like, absolutely. But
Absolutely. Yep.
that is, she made the decision, and then
Yeah.
however it worked, right? Like, and there are things to support you, whether you take the action and go sell something in your house, and you know,
Yeah.
and I think she used Marketplace or something, but that's the whole, there's a fire in you that you're like, I want this and I really want this now. I was
Yeah.
still giving her the space, but the fact that she was able to take her space and realize, you know what, I actually need this. I need it
Now.
sooner. Let's do it now,
Yeah.
right? Because she's so excited.
Yeah. And she's
That's
all ready to go. The energy's there. Yeah.
yeah.
Can you explain a little bit of what human design is and gene keys? I know it's because there may be still some people who have never heard those words.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a blueprint, it's a map, it's a tool that I use. It's based on astrology. So birth time, birth date, birth location. And I use this with all of my clients, whether they're an attorney, a financial advisor, they're a spiritual coach, right? I work with clients across the spectrum, from what I say, more of the physical 3D world to more of the spiritual 5D. And it's so fun to run this chart, the human design chart, because we're taking a snapshot of when you were born, right? We're looking at the planets, we're looking at the energies, and they're a macro cosmic view of everything.
Yeah.
But there are parts of these energies that are within you and who you be. And we get really lost in the world of doing instead of being. And so, again, if you're in that prosperity river that actually was your parents' river and it wasn't yours, you're trying to fit yourself in with this environment that doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good. So,
Yeah.
human design gives a lens of how are you energetically designed? How do you radiate and express energy and love into the world,
Mhm.
versus what are the parts that you receive from the world around you, right? Where are you intuitive? Where do you
Yeah.
actually feel these energies so intensely that they're helping you to navigate, make decisions that are correct for you, trust yourself? And to me, it's a game changer when it comes to making a decision, which always ties to prosperity and finance and currency and money, right? There's always the money piece that comes
Yeah.
up. But if I'm emotional, which my design I am, I need time to make decisions. But that goes against that river of corporate where it's like,
Mhm.
you need to be quick, you need to make a decision in the moment. And
Yeah.
so every time I did that, I was left regretting it, doubting it, not trusting it, not feeling secure. So even just knowing these parts, if I have an emotional client, I don't want to pressure you to do
Right.
something you might not be ready to do yet.
Right. What a really good point. And for me, human design was a game changer for me because I'm a projector and I didn't know that I need more rest time. So instead of feeling guilty for lying down, taking a nap, or just chilling, now I actually add that into my day, knowing that it's all about my energy. So I have to make sure that my energetic bucket is filled and I'm not showing up depleted. So that was huge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a projector as well. And you and I are guides. Like we
Mhm.
just see the energy, we see how to help people and be able to guide them in certain ways, but yet we were caught in the energy of doing,
Yes.
right? And so there are doing types, generators, manifesting generators. There's 70% of the population. They're designed to work and build and do. And you and I are the opposite. So we think we're them, right? Like working harder, burning ourselves
Yeah.
out. Why am I so tired? Why do I want to rest? And the flip is actually we're here to live life first and
Yeah.
work second, right?
Mhm.
Which is so backwards because then this is why, and I've heard it when we've been in like mastermind calls where certain people are like, wow, you rest a lot.
I know.
But
You
but
take a lot of vacations,
right.
don't you?
And the generators just are like, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you need all this time off? And it's because you're not meant to be working, but they
Right.
are if they
Right.
love what they do. And if
Right.
they don't love what they do, then they start to get depleted. Whereas you and I, if we just keep working and working and working and trying to save the world because that's what we want to do,
Right.
we burn ourselves out and then we are not able to help anybody else.
It's not fun. Yeah. And actually that person is a projector living.
The
She doesn't understand the
conditioning.
projector way, right? Because
Yes.
when you understand the projector way, you're like, I'm going to take a break. As we're going into launch week, I'm going to take a break. The generator's going to do all the work, right? It's just knowing your partners, which makes everything just run so much more smoothly. I love the whole understanding it.
Yes. And so the gene keys is a variation. We're taking the Chinese I Ching, which is part of the human design system. There's also astrology that's part of the system, and the Judaic Kabbalah, quantum physics, and then the Hindu chakra system. So all these pieces that are like coming
Mm,
in to human design, the gene keys is another variation where it's specifically focusing on the hexagrams of the Chinese I Ching, looking at the lines and looking at them in certain ways where what is your life's work? What is your
mhm.
evolution, your radiance, your purpose, right? The purpose piece is like such a big one
Yeah.
where everyone's always like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Well, we
Yes.
can look at which planet is tied to that, which is the earth in an unconscious position. And we can start to see what's the shadow of that particular hexagram, what's the gift, what's the city. So for
Mm,
mine it's the 16th hexagram, and the shadow is indifference. So
mm,
if I am wanting to be on purpose, but I'm kind of indifferent and I just don't care. I don't care because guess what? That's what we see in the world. Nobody cares. Right?
yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh, what's the big deal? That's never going to change." And so we think we can't change anything and we just become so
Mhm.
indifferent. The gift of the 16th hexagram, this gene key, is the versatility, right?
Mm,
So here's this part of normally the world wants us to be very focused, but I am not meant to be focused, right? And the more that I look at exactly how I help people, it's like, well, I help them in the 3D and the 5D, and I help them strategically with money or intuitively with money or looking at who they are. And right, it's this like
mm,
this world of two kind of separate worlds,
yeah.
but being versatile, being able to be dancing in both worlds and starting to bridge the worlds. And
Mhm.
ultimately, the highest expression is the city of this mastery, right? You become
Mm,
almost this guru of you're not focused and it's not about doing, but you live well. And everything is
yes.
just this experience. And so it's magical, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, oh, this is who I am, but I can lean more into it and I can see where am I slipping, if I'm
Yeah.
indifferent about something, I'm not being versatile. I'm not really being well-rounded to seeing your perspective and my perspective and the
Right.
whole energy of everything. So that's just one layer of just looking at these pieces, and it's a little different than human design, but it just adds so much more depth, which
Yeah.
is what I love.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're all complex. So the more we understand yourself, the easier life is. Period. The end. That's all. And who wouldn't want more to live an easier life, right? We
Yeah,
only make it harder on ourselves.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make it complex.
Yeah. So can you share some of the results that your clients get?
It's different across the board, and mainly because I also know that I want you to get what you want, but you have to want it.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes in the world of, ooh, you're going to help me, and going to get a coach, or right, you're going to tell me what I need, and then poof, it's all going to happen. And the big part for me is there are some emotional layers, there's some mental layers, there's some physical aspects, there's the spiritual pieces. And really, I'm awakening the seeds within you to remember, so that this lotus flower or whatever you want to say is inside of you, it starts to bloom. It starts to come alive. You start to, let's say, I share parts like your purpose, and something in you awakens because you start to resonate and remember. And so it's a little different for how quickly, right? I have emotional people who they may not have always been connected to their emotions,
Yeah.
which means the seeds that are awakening are for those experiences to come in and help that flower bloom emotionally, right? And for you to connect to these parts and start to recognize, wow, this is what I want and this isn't what I want. So it's fascinating because I feel like I also don't always get to really know what's going on because they don't see the correlation. So this is the magic of I'm part of this energy, this subtlety. But I just had a presentation I delivered to my BNI group, and to get all the love afterward, right? This is when people like start to tell you like what you actually did. So I had one lady mention that she was like, you have to see Alana. What she gave me was so helpful. I saw her in December, and she said, my business, these first 4 months of 2023 have been the biggest and best I've ever had. And it was based on things that she told me about myself, how I operate. And she's a generator. But the thing with generators, they think they have to get out and initiate and push. And she's in sales, insurance sales, right? So imagine you've lived in a world where everyone says you have to hit this quota or you need to get out there and hit the ground running. She's not an initiating energy in that way. She's
Yeah.
here to respond to what shows up. And so the more that she's able to pause and honor the energies and not just be in this pushing place, right?
Yeah.
She's now really flowing in her business financially, having more success because she's backed off. She
Yeah.
received the message, awakened these parts in her, shifted something. And again, it doesn't have to be extreme, but it's this part of, if you now know, oh my gosh, this part of me that I fought forever and knew I didn't want to do it this way, but I did it. And now it's like you get this permission to finally embrace these parts of you that says, nope, I don't want to do it. And you listen, and
Yeah.
now you have more energy. Now you have more prosperity flowing in. Maybe your health is improving. It's like it's fascinating. Where I will tell you, don't go through your to-do list. If you're a generator type, I want you to use your sacral and respond with it. And the magic in that is that you actually start gaining more energy back, because now there is no procrastination of doing something you don't want to do today and fighting yourself.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission to move it to tomorrow. And
Right.
then you're like, oh wow, that only took 5 minutes. But in the past it took forever.
Yeah.
So it's these subtleties, these little things that really start to accumulate in our lives, where we have these habits or these old patterns of how we think we have to do things. When I'm using human designer gene keys, It's like I just see the energy. I know what you need to hear to help you awaken those parts of yourself.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. So if you need some help with your business, contact Alana. And you have a workshop coming up. Do you want to share about what people can expect from that, from their experience from your workshop?
Yes. So here's the other part. Besides those two blueprints and maps that I use, I love working energetically in the quantum space of connecting to you energetically. So one of the things I've seen too is what ties to the human design and helping you consciously know who you are and what are these pieces, but also energetically coming in and helping to clear your field, right? Because what I know is if you are not grounded and your root chakra is blocked, money's already going to be something that you don't feel safe and secure to have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's these other layers that always come in. And I've started to see too the dance of energetically we're clearing you, consciously you're getting the information, but there's still this deeper piece within you. And what it's called in the Gene Keys is your core wound. So we all have a core wound. And again, we're looking at the 6 lines of the hexagram. So there's 6 core wounds, and we each have one. And it was seeded the moment that you were conceived in your mother's womb, right? It's already there. And this wound is with you in the birth into this life, right? And then we know that there's different parts of us that come online, right? That we're physically learning to be in the body the first 7 years of life, right? Well, that core wound is already present. And the piece about this wound is you already start to learn to protect it, right? It's within you and it holds you. So, for example, the line 1 is this energy of repression. So here's where your first 7 years of life, you're physically out in the world and you feel like mom and dad repress you. You feel like the world's repressing you, your teachers, right? You're just trying to figure out who you are. And all you know, because your reasoning mind hasn't come online, you just see what things are happening and you think that's true. But that core wound's already seated. And as we each know, as we get older and older, those parts are still present.
Yes.
So the physical wounding happens. Then from 8 to 14, we start to formulate emotional energies to protect this core wound. And then from 15 or 14, 15 to 21, we start mentally creating the thought forms. And the beauty of the Gene Keys is we know how this formulates, but you have to go in reverse to start unwinding it, right? So you can't get through the mind to get to the emotions until this starts to clear away, right? So sometimes even when we're like, ooh, I've got this block and I know this happened to me when I was a young child, and we go straight back to this part, that mental form will have already taken root when you got older to protect it and say, yes, I am repressed. Right. And you would then learn to emotionally and physically and mentally repress yourself, right? Self-sabotage. And you just don't even want to you don't want to be aware that this is present. Right. And so we'll do whatever it takes to really protect it. So this is what the workshop is about. We're exploring your core wound through the Gene Keys. And what I've seen is that even when I just mention it to people, right, there's a whole program. The Gene Keys has the Venus sequence to really help you unwind and know these parts of you. The end goal is for you to open your heart, right? To crack your heart open. And the part that really still keeps it closed is whatever the core wound is. So what I found is even when I just plant the seed or just mention it, it's like people kind of have this like, oh my God, I totally see that, right? My whole life.
Yeah.
So we've got repression, denial, shame, rejection, guilt, and separation. And really what I want is in this workshop that you learn more about what this is, that you're connecting to your body and where you really feel it, where you're connecting mentally and emotionally to these parts where, let's say, you really have an energetic defense or some mechanism where you're trying to protect it. So I know, Jacqueline, yours is the repression piece. Mine is rejection. And it totally is in this heart. And it's
Mhm.
so fascinating because I've been doing a lot of work, even physically, to get my posture because I was hunching over,
Yeah.
right? And it's such a way for
Yeah.
me to just like close down my
Oh,
heart space,
yeah.
try and make it smaller and not like let you see it.
Yeah.
And so it's opening up. And the
Yeah.
more that I'm doing that, the more then I'm having experiences where I can notice if there's some tension in a conversation.
Mm.
Where am I wanting to reject first so they don't reject me? You know,
Yes.
and it takes
Yes.
so much love and
Yeah.
tenderness and gentleness to just be in the heart space, take the rejection, and realize it's not really rejection. The end goal, right, is opening our heart. And the
Mhm.
core wound is not just your wound. You
Mm.
are the fractal of the whole of humanity. So, this core wound, you're healing for you and your lineage and the whole of humanity. And
Yeah.
what you're also realizing is when you start to see this for yourself and open yourself, you have the compassion to see it elsewhere and
Yeah.
help keep your heart open for them, even when they're feeling guilt or shame or repression or denial
Yeah.
or all the pieces.
Yeah, because the less personal we take everything, the more we can just be there with a loving heart and just create space for that person to feel whatever they need to feel and express it without judgment and shame and all of that. So I'm excited for your workshop. So, for those of you who want to learn more about yourselves, I'm putting the link in the comments. Make sure to check it out, and we hope you will be there. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And Alana, can you tell people how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me at my website, prosperityalignment.com. I am on Instagram and LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. So you can message me on any of those pieces too. And I want you to connect to you, right? That's my greatest intention for all of the work I do, and for the workshop. It's connecting to this part of yourself. And sometimes we think that we do, right? But that's up here, not down here, which is
Always the
a
thinking.
yes, such a big difference, right? It's like me
Yes.
thinking I'm feeling mad right now. You would know if I was really feeling mad right now. But it's that unwinding. And so it's embracing this part, right? We are not here to, let's say, have repression come forward and realize, ugh, I don't want that anymore, and try and cut it out of us. It's
Yeah.
that we see the gift of repression and what it's shown you in your life and helped you to get to this place for your healing of yourself and the collective, that you begin to really embrace and love it and send it love. And that's the biggest part, because just like you said, Jacqueline, we know that we should have compassion and come from our heart, but nobody taught us this. Right?
No. No.
And we have to really love ourselves, be gentle
Yeah.
with ourselves. This looks different for every single one of us, because even
Mhm.
if we had the same core wound, we do not have the same emotional sphere of a
Mhm.
hexagram that protects in a certain way.
Right.
And so there's all kinds of other aspects of the gene keys, and we'll touch on that in the workshop too. But it's going in and having the contemplation and the space and the awareness, right? Because to
Yeah.
me, that already starts to shift so much.
Yeah, and one, it takes courage to do this work, to really look at yourself and to understand yourself. And if everybody moved into compassion, what kind of world would it be, right? Instead of me pushing my thoughts on you and you pushing them on me, um, it's about having compassion for everybody.
Yeah.
So thank you. Any last words for the people watching?
Honor yourself. right? And even me saying core wound, talking about it,
Mm.
notice in yourself, is there some constriction? Is there some tightness? Is there some pain? Right? Because your body has messages for you.
Mm.
Oftentimes we don't hear the message because we're in our head and we overwrite it and we say, oh, go away. But that's part of the pain, right? It just gets
Yeah.
louder, right? This is how it
Yes.
manifests into illness. So be very gentle with yourself. Be conscious of what you're feeling. There's something deeper for us to explore in the workshop, or for you to dive in yourself and give it love.
Yeah. And we go into our minds to become thinkers because we were triggered, right? And that's a response. It's a triggering response that we do over and over again. And the more you understand who you are, the more you understand other people. We release that triggering. The body doesn't have to go into fight or flight mode because you release it. So I love it. Thank you, Danielle Kane from Spirit Calling, watching. It's so happy to have you here. Again, I'm Jacqueline Kane. This is Alana Heim. Please check out her workshop. It's on when? June
16th, and it is at noon Pacific time.
Awesome. All the details are in the comments. Hope to see you there. Everybody have a great day. Thank you, Alana.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.